Welcome to episode 409 of the show. We are currently getting ready for wedding season. I know some of you are going to be ashamed to find out that even though I've been in the game for a decade now, I still don't know when wedding season is. I just know that the first half of the year is supposed to be quiet, and then towards the latter half of the year, the latter quarter of the year, we're supposed to have loads of weddings, and then in this period, weddings pick up, but maybe not too much because we have the rainy seasons going on, and so it's not an optimum time for getting married. So, if I understand correctly, that's the lay of the land, but I don't know exactly when wedding season begins, and I should know. But anyway, the good thing is that not long after the restrictions had been lifted from about last year up until now, weddings have been coming back in full swing. But in my own opinion, I think the industry is coming back full thrust now because the Brides and Babies wedding expo, as at the time of this recording, is going to be tomorrow on a Sunday. And the other big one, Wed Expo, I think they're called Wed Expo or Wed NG or something like that. So the other big one, they don't seem to be interested in having a presence in Abuja, but they're big in Lagos and I think PH. Well, Lagos for sure. Let me not mention the other states I'm not sure of because there are other players in the market. So now that Brides and Babies and Wed Expo are officially back in the exhibition business, I take it to mean that with full confidence that the industry is now officially, in a sense, returning. So we are, well, that's part of what we're getting ready for. That's my video guy Shegun and I going to be exhibiting jointly at the Brides and Babies Fair tomorrow. If Wed Expo decides to come back to Abuja, I guess we'll give that one a shot as well. And traditionally, this has been one of the ways that we have tried to push out our wedding business, especially now on the video end. Okay, no, not video end because it's largely multimedia. Because Shagun's company has acquired some screens, firecrackers, confetti machines, blah blah blah, stuff like that. So there are lots of new stuff to roll out and exciting things in the pipeline. Anyway, I didn't come here today just to tell you that Shegun has got some new equipment and we're rolling out new services, and not just to say that the wedding expos are coming back, because two of the bigger players in Lagos and Abuja have now advertised dates for wedding expos. But what I came up to reiterate today, because it's something I've spoken about in the past on the podcast, had another argument about it with Shegun yesterday. I figured I might as well come and sound the trumpet over here, just in case there are some of you who are, what will I say, losing heart or losing faith about this particular matter. And it's this thing that I've been talking about, which is when I say that weddings aren't a one and done business opportunity. Now, what do I mean by that? The average service professional, the average vendor, the average business person in the wedding space assumes that it's one and done. So if Kemi and Kunle get married now, you collect your money from Kemi and Kunle, you do the wedding planning, you provide the photography, you provide the photo booth, provide the catering, or whatever it is. And then you say thank you very much, and then it's on to the next one. You start looking for someone else to do business with in the wedding space. Now, my opinion has always been that kind of in the technical sense, weddings are not one and done, because if you're remaining flexible, Kemi and Kunle, yes, they're married now, but they're still going to need photographers, videographers, planners, what else, MCs for other things, because Kemi and Kunle are going to have children. They're going to organize 60th birthday party or 70th birthday party for Momsi and Popsi, or Grandpa and Grandma. What else? They might be on the committee in the office and might make a referral for the office people to use you for the planning services or for the catering or for the photography and things like that. So I know that it's not wedding income. Yes, technically speaking, that's not wedding income. But if you remain flexible and you're open to these things, you'll find out that the fact that Kemi and Kunle are going to get married only once doesn't mean that that's the only opportunity for revenue that we're going to get out of this situation. So when Shego and I got into that conversation yesterday. I didn't want to rehash the whole thing that, some of the corporate work that we do has actually come through weddings, because that's how I got hooked up with the British Council through another wedding vendor, and then a coincidence that one of our brides, one of our potential clients, well, we didn't end up working with her anyway, but I guess she was impressed with the whole setup, and so she became really a leg into the whole thing. So working with NGOs like that, for me anyway, the business connects that have come through there have been largely through brides. And that's how I've gotten into the corporate space. They like what they do, and then they say, "Oh, do you do end of year parties? Do you do this? Our board of directors are doing portraits. Can you handle? Can you handle that? We need documentary coverage on this. Can you handle this?" So there has been some good chunk of business that has come through that, and so we have to be open to the possibilities for long-term business that can come from weddings, and not just assume that because Kunle and Kemi got married, it's only going to be one wedding, then that's the end. So after we're done, no need to maintain a relationship with Kunle and Kemi because no more business is coming there. And it's going to be the same if we're talking about Ismail and Khadijat. We shouldn't just assume that they have gotten married once and then that's the end. Nothing else is going to come out of it. We still have to build a relationship. We still have to prime, because there's a lifetime value of a customer. And if we're flexible and we're open to other things, we're going to get business in other ways as well. Now, for those of you who are going to be wedding purists or event purists, then I guess this doesn't apply to you. Then maybe it's a one and done. But I would still insist that you try and maintain a relationship so that at least you can get referrals from Kemi and Kunle or from Ismail and Khadija. Now, thanks, you guys. You love the wedding. So if you're happy with the service that we provided you guys, is there anyone else who's getting married? What about the bridesmaids? Aisha said she might be getting married in November. Can I have Aisha's number? Can you hook me up? Stuff like that. You make that kind of play after you're done with fulfillment, because weddings do not have to be a one and done. Now, this is at the point where someone like Shegun will say that, well, yes, but for the amount of energy that we invest in these things, you're better off paying attention to corporate events. And for that, yes, I will grant, and I'll make that concession to people who make that argument, because, like I said, being hooked up with the British Council, what else? The British High Commission, those kinds of bodies. So being hooked up to them, even though it came through a bride, I didn't get any wedding business from her, but putting all these things into play, the things that we talk about here, following up, promoting the pushing for the initiative, finding out what people's problems are, things like that, relationship building, it seems to yield more fruit in that space, because repeatedly over the last 4 or 5 years, we could say a good chunk, not the majority, but a good chunk of just-in-time money has ended up coming from those sorts of people. And in fact, currently, Shego and the other boys are handling one of those such things that came through the ministry. This was not through a wedding contract. So I think it's the Ministry of tourism or something. It's one of these international food fairs or something. So they are providing the official videography, what else, sound coverage, things like that. So so bigger and much more, what's that word, bigger and much more, is it repeatable or repeating, what's the word? Anyway, so bigger opportunities and opportunities that come more and more, yes. They seem to yield more fruit when you it seems to yield more fruit when you put your energy, into that regards. So yes, I'll make that concession, but that doesn't change the fact that we still should be doing this as good business practice, because any opportunities for viable income that we can get, are good. And apart from that, I'm one of those who strongly believe that even if something isn't yielding much fruit now, at least continue with the discipline, continue with the skills, continue with the practice, because it is setting you up better for other things. So, that's what I tell people basically, that if we get good at this game right now, that we're dealing with tens of thousands of naira, hundreds of thousands of naira, and we get really good at this game, imagine how profitable we are going to be and how beautiful things are going to be in the future when we start rolling in the hundreds of millions of naira game. We would have sorted out all these kinks early in the game. The whole thing of how do you network, how do you find potential clients, how do you find what's important to them, how do you know what vision they're aiming towards, how are you going to make sure that your fulfillment is on point, your customer service experience is on point, the networking and the relationship building that follows afterwards, getting repeat business and referrals and stuff like that. So it's early in these days that we're still dealing with tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands that it's worth putting in all the time and still practicing all these things that we talk about, because we're not going to be at the hundreds of thousands of naira stage forever. Eventually, it's going to be the millions and tens of millions and, God willing, hundreds of millions. And we sharpen our game at this level, and we're going to be lethal, and things are going to be extremely more beautiful when it comes to the latter days. So just in case there are any of you there who thinks that for all this effort that you put into building relationships with other wedding vendors and with brides and with grooms, like this thing is not paying, it's crap, hang in there. It does yield fruit. So yes, if you're able to get into the corporate space, please do, because then it yields more fruit. Because the thing is, if you have a relationship with Kemi, because Kemi works in the human resources department in GT Bank, or whichever department is responsible for staff training or whatever. And so every time they're doing staff training or they're doing end of year party or whatever, she calls you, then yes, in that sense, it yields more fruit, because you know that Kemi is going to call you 4 times a year for Easter party, in-house training, end of year party, and let's see, what else? Board of trustees, portrait session or whatever. You know that she's going to call you 4 times every year for the next 4 or 5 years that she remains in that role. So yes, if you can slide into that space, then by all means do. But don't give up on the discipline of keep doing all these sales related things when we're dealing with should I say ordinary, or rather our individual wedding clients one-on-one. So yes, corporate is good, but still pay attention to Kunle and Kemi and Ismail and Khadijat, because we're also going to get opportunities for income, for residual income through them. So it's worth the squeeze, even if the money is not going to be good, even if it's just 100k or 200k or 300k or whatever. Still put in the squeeze, get good at the game. If you become lethal at this level, when you start rolling at the levels of 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, things are going to get much more rosy, much more beautiful. So basically, just to say, hang in there, and yeah, it looks like we're getting back into full swing. So thanks for listening to today's recording. I'm your host, Tavishima George Aide, Abuja-based sales consultant and also event media professional. I'm sure you've guessed already, since I'm talking a lot about being behind the camera and organizing teams and stuff like that. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next recording.